Warning. This episode contains brief references to intimate partner emotional violence. Those references are toward the end of the episode. I'm Ashley Fetco.
And I'm Cayce Lynch.
We're millennials.
We're lawyers.
We're moms.
We're Swifties.
And we're best friends.
We are deep in the thick of paid working motherhood.
It's real. It's funny. And sometimes it's real funny.
But also, it's no joke.
It's the normal mess.
The normal mess.
The normal mess.
Nailed it.
Welcome back, messy besties. It's time for another episode of... Cayce, you're going to sing it?
The normal mess.
The normal mess.
I love it so much.
It's the best
you
day
are.
of the
Are
week.
you really going to make that my ringtone?
I want to. Yeah, I saved it so that I can. I haven't yet, but I want to.
That's very like 2002 throwback for you to make a custom ringtone for somebody.
I know. And I didn't do it that, like, I didn't ever really do custom ringtones then. Because again, as we're going to talk about, I'm late to a trend. But I'm doing it now. Cayce sent me a voice memo just to catch our listeners up. She sent me a voice memo. I was telling her something about the normal mess. Not the podcast, just like my life. And I was just like, get a load of this. And she responded with just a voice note that just said, the normal mess. And I was like, I'm going to make that your ringtone. So yeah, I'm going to do it.
And it hopefully it cheered you up a little bit. You like giggled a second. So.
I did giggle.
Good.
Thank you.
We're so happy you joined us today on today's roadmap. I think we've got a really, really doozy of an episode for you. So thanks for being here.
In a good way.
In a really good way.
In a fun way.
Like a fun and passionate way on all,
Right.
on
A
all
fun
the
doozy.
things. Yes. We're going to start with an update on what are you listening to, reading, watching. Mm-hmm. Then we're going to dive into the concept of bring mostly the whole of who you are to work.
Yep.
Love this. Love it. And we're going to wrap up with, back to our opening here, the normal mess spotted IRL in real life. And,
That's right.
But also a little glimmer of something that's bringing you a little joy. So
Yeah. We're going to balance the normal mess with a glimmer. It's going to be messy and shimmery.
shimmery mess.
It's a shimmery mess. It's a new podcast idea. Shimmery mess. Okay. So I wanted to talk about what I'm reading.
Do it.
Or watching or listening to, because I am always, and I think I've shared this previously on the pod, I am always embarrassingly slow to catch up to a trend, particularly with what I'm watching. This is not the case with what I'm listening to, which I'm going to wear this as a badge of honor. So do you do the Spotify Wrapped where every year Spotify tells you, you know, and hopefully for this year, our messy besties will do their Spotify Wrap and it will be like, your number one listened to thing was the normal mess.
At least on the podcast category, right?
At least on the podcast category. I don't know. Can we outperform Amy? I don't think so. Nor do we want to. No. But anyway, so in the Spotify Wrapped, last year they added this category where they guess your listening age, or they tell you like what your age is like based off of what you listen to. And I want this engraved on my tombstone. When I do go, I want this like on my gravesite, okay? That in 2020, I guess it was 2025, that in 2025, Spotify said that I was 21 years old. Which not double that number, almost. And it's because I catch on to new music quickly. I love new music. This is not the case with what I watch, however. When I start watching a show, it's a safe bet that it is now off the air. Has been off the air
10 years.
By like a decade, I catch on to it. And then it's really devastating because I don't have anybody that I can be like, oh, did you see what happened on last night's episode of whatever? Because they're like, that aired 10 years ago. So I have finally caught on to Ted Lasso.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm taking a bow. Thank you.
And I have to accept responsibility for how late you are finding that. I accept full responsibility for the record. This can be on my tombstone.
Okay. Because
in
you love it.
2026, Cayce Lynch accepted responsibility for not telling Ashley Fetko, her best friend, about the best show of all time, Ted Lasso, 5 years earlier.
Where you been? Where you been? Because you watched that during the this was like your pandemic comfort show. Okay. It is freaking gold. This show is so good. It is so good. It's clever and funny and heartwarming and like not in like I wouldn't say that it's inspirational, but it's like it gives you hope. Like it's hope.
It's very hopeful.
It's hopeful. And it kind of is cut from the same cloth of Parks and Rec in that way, you know, where there's like really rich characters and it's clever and funny, but it's also it's an optimist's show. I mean, Ted is an optimist. You know what I mean? Like there's just a lot. It's so good. And every single character in that show, I love.
I love
all of them.
so many of the episodes. I love so many. And again, I need to rewatch it.
Rewatch it.
Because Roy Kent, Brett Goldstein announced on Instagram that another season's coming back this fall. So I feel like it's going to be the summer of rewatching all the seasons of Ted Lasso so I can start the new one. Won't that be heaven?
Oh, that's a good summer.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
I love Roy Kent. I love him. He's like the lovable curmudgeon. I love a good curmudgeon.
Yeah.
You know? He's a sweary Oscar the Grouch.
Yes.
A sweary buff soccer
Roy Kent.
playing. Roy Kent. He's here. He's there. He's everywhere. Roy Kent. Roy Kent. And it's funny too. It's a good show for us because Ash is a soccer guy. So he comes from a soccer family. His dad is, you know, like we watch the matches. It's a big thing.
Same.
So it's like
Premier League I never watched soccer, and then I married my husband, and I was on every weekend. Premier League.
Yeah,
soccer.
it's a great. Yeah. But he was funny though because he was like, yeah, because when I told him I wanted to watch it, I was like, honey, it's a soccer show. So we're watching it, and he's like, well, this is a soccer show that's not at all about soccer. And I was like, ooh, right, it's my speed of a soccer show. Like I want the essence. I want the essence of soccer in my soccer show. You know, like it's like when you're I've told you this about my feelings about a mimosa. Like,
I'm going to say this.
Okay, if I'm going to have a mimosa, I want like my glass of champagne and I want someone to like hold an orange over it. And like, I want to know that an orange has been in the general vicinity of my mimosa, but I don't want
the orange.
Just waft it gently over the glass of champagne. I don't want the majority of my mimosa to be orange. I just want to know that it's been near an orange. That's how I feel about my soccer shows. I want someone to hold the soccer ball in the general vicinity of my show that's about like lovable
of whatever
characters.
frames on the television. They can hold the soccer ball.
Just waft the soccer ball over the show. So anyway, so that's what I'm new to this old thing. Okay, and so you have one too that you've been a little slow on the uptake with this one.
By only a few hundred years, people. Okay? All right. I have fallen in love with Jane Austen. And I can't believe it has taken me this long to fall in love with Jane Austen, the author, not the movies. Can I just say that? Not the movies.
Yes.
Her actual books. So I started watching the movies with my mom in middle school and high school, and Sense and Sensibility is my absolute favorite. Huge fan of Keira Knightley, Pride and Prejudice. Like,
oh yeah,
love these. Emma, love these movies.
Yes.
I can quote these movies. I could probably say the line. I could watch the movie, put it on, and say every line the whole movie through. That's how much I love them.
Often there's this gripe, like anytime someone makes a movie out of a book, it's like, oh, well, it's not as good. Those movies, all of them, very solid.
They hold up.
They hold up. Not a single one that I'm like, eh.
Yeah, no. So, okay, you might ask yourself, well, Cayce, if you loved these books 25 years ago, why didn't you pick one up and read it? The truth is that I did not think I was smart enough to understand the books. Like,
oh my God.
I didn't understand Shakespeare in high school, which I was forced to read. And I just thought that this would be the same as that and that I wouldn't get it. Okay, false. I love it. And I read it as if I'm watching the movie and it's the movie characters on the screen, but it provides so much more context besides like what these women are actually thinking and feeling. And like, I'm in Pride and Prejudice now, and it's almost like, that's when Mr. Darcy starts to love her. And you couldn't you just like,
you're missing like a little bit of
I
that depth
know.
of context. Yeah.
You really are supposed to read the books before you watch the movies. That's the thing.
But you know what? It's kind of cool though. Like, I always, I think everyone does this when you're reading something that does not have a movie that you've seen, where you create it in your mind. That's kind of like you paint the scene and you have in your mind and this is why people don't like often when movies are made about books, because it doesn't comport with what they had imagined as they were reading it. It's kind of a cool thing though that you have the gift of having that scene already been painted for you, and then you're like infusing it with this additional layer of context. That's cool.
Highly recommend. They're not that hard to understand. They're incredible.
And you're brilliant. But it's just like my thing with the math, where you're like, of course you can do that. The things we
tell ourselves.
The lies we tell ourselves. And in the process, like you stole from yourself decades of joy. And this is, an encouragement for anyone, who's got a book or an author lingering out there that you're like, this is one that I've always kind of wanted to read, or like I've heard enough about it that I feel. If you have anything like that, especially one that you feel intimidated by, or that you've told yourself a lie that you can't handle, go do it, because you might be missing something, Just pick it up, do it. You are
Some
brilliant.
Some of them are free on Kindle. Just saying.
Or your local library.
Or your local library. Also true.
I love the library. I love the library, and I love our community college. I put those resources to good use.
All right. Topic today.
Let's jump in.
Topic today is bring mostly the whole of who you are to work. Controversial topic.
Controversial. As we've learned over the past several years.
Yes.
Controversial topic. So let's set it up so that we explain what this is and kind of what we're talking about here. So Cayce and I have talked quite a bit about, I would say that we feel passionately about this. Both of us feel passionately about this.
Yes.
About, bringing the whole authentic, full version of who you are to work. And I think that we've talked about this in speeches that we've done together and events that we've hosted together about how important it is. I would argue, and I think we're going to get into this, particularly for women who occupy paid working roles, to be able to bring the whole of who you are to work. And I don't want to say we've gotten pushed back, but we've gotten some mixed responses, mixed reviews,
differing feedback,
differing perspectives on whether one can or even should bring the whole of who you are to work. So that's kind of what we're talking about today. What does that actually mean for you when we say that we want to bring the whole of who we are to work? What does that actually mean?
It draws from authenticity for me. And I know I've talked on the podcast about how my two values are authenticity and faith. And for anyone who has not defined their two values, do the exercise in Brene Brown's book, Dare to Lead. Incredible exercise, and has been really helpful for me in all areas of my life, and especially work. So one is drawing from making decisions from my authentic place and my authentic self, that I'm not making a decision because I'm trying to make someone else happy, or because I think someone would be upset with me, or because something's the easy way out, or because something might be less controversial. Am I being true to myself as I make this decision and the reasons for it? I think we should bring the whole of our values and the whole of who we are into those meetings and into those decisions. At the same time, as a paid working mom, I also think it means don't shield parts of yourself or leave parts of yourself behind to fit into a perfect button-up suit in order to show up at work. And we talked about this with Dr. Emily Cross, that in today's society, yes, we have email on our phone, but we also, so many of us have the blessing of working from home or working hybrid schedules. And it's very hard to not let our professional life bleed into our personal life. Okay, well, why can't our personal life also bleed into our professional life then? And so that means acknowledging that I am a mom, that I'm a mom of 2 kids, that mothering is hard, that I'm a caregiver, that I'm a spouse, and the things that I enjoy and the aspects of my personality that make me me, why can't I talk about those things and show those aspects of myself at work? And I'm at a place where that's encouraged and that's celebrated and that's wonderful. I've heard from women that they do not work at a place where that's tolerated or encouraged in any way, shape, or form. I've heard from women they don't have the privilege or luxury of doing that. And I also hear that we shouldn't, that actually it's probably inappropriate for us to do that because we need to be serious or we need to show up a certain way. I think when we say this, I mean, you and I are both outspoken on women's issues. I mean, hello, we have a podcast called The Normal Best about working motherhood, but we also talk about it in our professional spheres at work. Yep. And we're not the only women who have said this, right?
Right.
But when people speak out on a topic on behalf of supporting women or advancing women, it's very easily a target, as where people kind of like take the concept and then start finding every single exception or like trying to give every situation where something's wrong or it won't work out just for the sake of cutting the concept down instead of acknowledging valid points.
Right. And I also feel like there's also this, it's also for the sake of like having a hot take. You know, it's like not to always make it about Taylor Swift, but like every single hot take is cold as ice, where it's like, well, if you're going to, you know, you want to make a splash, like cut it down, say something controversial or find the, you know, where it's like also for that, where it's like, what, to what end? Why?
And so in major publications over the last 6, 9, 12 months, I've seen articles come out that's like why you shouldn't bring your full authentic self to work, or
written by other women.
Yes. So but I still feel strongly that we should, because representation matters for a lot of reasons. I know we're going to dive into a lot of this, but that is my rant on what I mean when I say bring the whole of who you are to your workplace. Mostly because there are lines. Like, I'm not saying like be inappropriate.
Don't show up naked.
That's fine.
We don't mean bring your naked self.
We will your baby self. Don't bring your bare naked, the way you were born self to work. I get that.
That's right.
And we can talk about some of those boundaries and like where we might decide what's appropriate, not appropriate to bring, or things that we may intentionally not want to bring because that's sacred and we're saving that. Like, we can talk about those things. But well, what do you mean when you say bring the whole of who you are to work?
There's substantial overlap between your answer and mine, but I think so. I guess first I should back up and provide our messy besties who may not have known me or may not know me in real life, but who may not have known me like for a long time, some historical context. So throughout the course of my life, beginning pretty much as early as I can remember, I have been told that I am too blank. Insert word here. Too much. Too intense was one that I got quite a bit growing up, where looking back on that, I'm like, how can a little kid be intense? I think because I feel things deeply and I am responsive to those feelings. Baby. I full chalance.
And you have full chalance since you were a baby.
I came out into this world with my full chalance. You know, we talk about how we entered the world naked. I entered the world naked and full of full chalance. Yes. And so my whole life I have been told that I'm too everything, too much, too pink, too, whatever, which is just ridiculous. Just especially the pink thing, as I sit here in my pink office with my pink door and my pink wallpaper and my pink chair, like, too much of everything. And so,
but no one would ever tell you that you're too funny because you're the perfect amount of funny. There's no such thing as too funny. But that breaks my heart. That breaks my heart that you would grow up hearing that.
I mean, and just, and not from my parents, but just, out in the world, society where,
we've talked about some of your teachers before. I'm sure you heard that at school.
Yeah. And, and then when you're kind of experimenting with who you are and, I learned to shut down pieces of myself or to be more cautious about who I showed what. Mm-hmm. And that was, I think, a self-preservation instinct or not, you know, a response maybe to some of this feedback that I got out in the world. We all get feedback as we move through the world. We all get feedback about who we are, how we're existing, how we're presenting, the impact that we all receive feedback. So this is not a unique to me experience, but a lot of the feedback that I received was that I was too much, you know, too much of whatever, you know, group of whatever description, just too much. And so, you know, and then you go through college and you go through formative relationships with people, and, you know, and I, as we've talked about, like, did not always make great romantic choices. And so then that message was repeated by people who, you know, allegedly loved me. And that becomes part of your self-identity with how you navigate your inner world compared to the outer world, and how much of my inner world I allowed to be visible by the outer world. And I, in coming through those experiences, I have learned and I have seen time and time and time again that where I am a muted version of myself, I am an unhappier version of myself as well. And so I have a little bit of a rebellious streak, as you may have gathered from my secret tattoos and all of the things, secret, not so secret tattoos. I think that what has happened was I kind of went through this journey of shutting down who I am, and then seeing that that's actually that's not a road to happiness for me. And rather than just as we've talked about, I'm 0 or I'm 100. Usually I'm 100. And so rather than just like, okay, well, I am gonna show up in this way, I kind of put it on blast, where it's like, F you, I'm going to show up this way. I'm going to show up that way. Not only am I going to tell you that I love pink, my whole freaking office is going to be pink. I'm going to, I'm going to lean in so fully to this, partially as like a middle finger to anyone who has telegraphed to me explicitly or not that I'm too much of anything. I'm exactly the muchness of who I should be. And here it is. You are welcome. And
Can
so
that
I
be
think
the call out quote for us? I am exactly the muchness of who I should be. Bam!
Bam!
I love it.
I mean,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was like,
no,
chills with that.
I
love it.
Thank you. And I don't know that that's always been necessarily a healthy response, because I've gone so far the other way, that I've just, like I said, I am loudly exactly who I am. And there's sometimes good that comes from that. The other thing that I want to say is, when you were talking about how it shows up for you or what it means for you, to bring us back to the initial question, part of what I'm talking about when I'm saying this is also visibility. Visibility is really important to me, not only for my own well-being, to know that I am visible. I want to occupy the space that I occupy and have it be visible that I'm in that space. Mm-hmm. But also I want to be visible for other people. So sometimes, especially, as you occupy a leadership role, I have made the decision to be vocally, visibly, transparently, authentically myself, loudly myself, so that other people see that and feel that they have a license or a permission slip to be radically, transparently, loudly themselves too.
Can you give a concrete example? I know you talked about the pink, but can you give an example of how you've done that recently?
I can't. I was going to save it for the end for our normal mess, but I'll give it here. So, okay. So the other part of this, like as I've become a mother and moved into this era of motherhood that I'm in now, bringing the whole of who I am to work also necessarily for me means that I show up and I'm transparent about what paid working motherhood looks like. I show up that way in my community. I show up that way at work. I show up that way I'm just very visible about that. And so an example, a very minimal example, is I use exclamation points in emails. because I'm effusive. I am an effusive person. I am an excited person. I'm an all-in person. And I don't use all exclamation points because I don't want to look like a psychopath, like a pepper in a period now and then, so people don't think I'm unhinged. But I use exclamation points in emails. But with motherhood, I am transparent with my team about my obligations and things that I am doing in my role as a mom. And I don't mean obligations in a negative way. I mean, like, I take my kids to school and pick them up from school every day. And that is on my calendar. It is on my work calendar so that I don't have meetings set during that time, because that is precious time to me, that I get to be the person. Sometimes it's a chaotic time. I get to be the person who takes my kids to school and gets them ready and takes them to school. I get to be the person who welcomes them back when they're done. I get to be the first person to hear about their day. That's precious time to me that I'm not compromising on. So it's in my calendar. But like earlier this week, my son was sick. He threw up. I think he was just coughing. We've had this cough from hell that just will never go away. I think he was coughing too hard. He was with the nanny and he coughed so hard that he threw up. And when he is sick, I know we've nicknamed my daughter Little Spice. I think we're going to officially nickname my son Little Sweet because he is so tender. And particularly when he is sick, all he wants is me. So like there was no going back to the nanny. There was no doing anything. And I had a meeting with my team. It's our weekly all team meeting. And I had camera on while he sat on my lap. And he got to see in that moment, I was showing up as the whole of who I am for him, where he's seeing that I am your mom. I am also a professional and a leader, and I lead meetings, and I was showing up for my team as, yeah, I'm here. And the Ashley that I am at work also happens to be the Ashley that I am at home. And right now that involves having my son on my lap. And, and like, I could have been camera off. I started the meeting camera off. And then I made a decision like, F this, camera's going on. This is the reality right now. I can do my job and do this. And I need to be here for him and I need to be here for this. So this is what we're working with. Now, would I have done that with a client? No.
Yeah.
And that's like where the line is.
So let's talk about this. Okay. Oh, this is so good. What are ways that you draw the line in what does need to be in a more professional, I guess we're calling it a box, maybe it's presentation. What I'm trying to ask is how you decide in what sphere of your work it's acceptable to bring the whole of who you are, again, still with certain limits, and then when you maybe do need to fit inside a professional box or have a buttoned up professional presentation. Is there a better way I could ask that question? You know what I'm trying to ask.
No, I know what you're asking. The reason that I'm pausing is that I don't have a clear answer. It's a case by case, to give you the typical lawyer answer. It depends. Like it depends on the context. It depends on the context. And I think like this dovetails really nicely into the conversation that I want to have about executive presence because, and I'll get us back to this point, but it relates. So go with me. So I hate the term executive presence. I hate it.
Say more.
I think that it is sexist AF. Okay. I think that it is predicated on an antiquated and primarily masculine or male idea of what it looks like to be a professional. It is nebulous. It doesn't mean anything. It might mean confident. It might mean competent. It might mean neither of those two things, but it comes down more often to how you present, the je ne sais quoi of like how you present yourself as a professional person. And executive presence on the whole, when there have been studies done that show that when women are given feedback surrounding this, it is negative feedback where men have it, women don't. Women need to be coached on how to have executive presence and men don't. What does that tell you? That tells you that it's not a skill. It's a body part. It's anatomy. I hate the concept of executive presence because it allows for fundamentally A, flawed, and B, sexist perceptions of what it looks like to exist as a professional person. And so when we
I think there's a racial element to it too.
100%. 100%. That is exactly right. And obviously, for anyone who's watching this, neither one of us are people of color. Okay. We are both white women. We acknowledge the space that we occupy, the limitations of our ability to speak intelligently about another person's experience because of the privilege that necessarily comes with what we look like in the space that we occupy. Whenever there is a category of a category or a prerequisite or a standard that is nebulous, that allows for sexist and racist and classist elimination and
exclusion.
And exclusion. And so an executive presence is exactly that. You know, I've talked about this at previous women's events. Like if it ever feels like we can't fit in or we're not doing it right, it's because the system was necessarily and was created without us in mind.
Yeah.
Like
so
that's
true.
just the reality of it. So executive, if an executive looks like a middle-aged white man who moves through the world with the experience and the confidence attendant to that privileged position, I'm never going to have that. And so to loop us, to kind of connect like why I wanted to talk about that with regard to this topic, it's because if the idea of an executive, if you think about an executive as like a cutout, did you ever have like paper dolls growing up?
Mm-hmm, totally.
Okay, so like a paper doll. If the shape of that paper doll is a man's shape with square shoulders wearing a suit, okay, that man might be an executive and he might have it all because at home he probably has a stay-at-home wife who is making the house run and taking care of the kids and everything else. So he might move through the world in his paper doll shape, looking and acting the way that he does because of the way that he looks and because of the system that has been set up to advance him. If we are not allowed to bring what our paper dolls look like, my paper doll is a mom who swears sometimes, loves pink, is very funny. See what I did there? It's just like part of the package is that I'm very funny. Right. If I'm not allowed to bring what that paper doll looks like to work because it doesn't comport with this outline of this executive where the outline is a male and with square shoulders and a suit, then I'm trying to shove myself into a frame that doesn't exist for me, was never built for me, doesn't look like me, doesn't sound or act or feel like me. And in the process of that, I'm harming the other parts of myself that deserve to be at that table too.
Mic drop.
That's my gripe.
I love
That's
it.
my gripe.
I can mic drop at the end of your gripe completely. I wasn't planning on going here, but it fits so perfectly, I have to say it. We recently hosted a women's event in New York several weeks ago, and one of our panelists so brilliantly said that one of the best pieces of advice she ever got was fill the role, not the shoes. Show up to do the job, don't show up to fit in the shoes of the person who previously did it. Who so often is that cutout of the male.
Yeah.
It has stuck with me so powerfully since she said that. And when I stepped into my job almost a year and a half ago, I wish somebody had said that to me. Mm-hmm. Because I felt very weird taking the position that I have, being one of only a few women in the country, let alone a millennial woman, mom, who has this job. It's so true. It's really powerful. I have that same gripe. I have that same gripe about the term executive presence. It's not fair. Let's all cut it from our vocabulary. At the same time, I do feel like there is a line.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you have to show your executive presence, but you do need to be a professional that shows up prepared.
Right.
And well-spoken and thoughtful. And respectful and kind and all these things. And I have also taken meetings with my children on my lap, or when I'm pumping, or as we've talked about, like all these things, right? And I have a couple of guideposts in my mind that for maybe younger listeners might resonate with them. May I share kind of how I thought about
please.
how I needed to do what? Okay. So if something was external facing, meaning outside of my organization, because I was going to be meeting with a client or I was going to give a presentation, I hearkened back to pre-COVID years where I thought, okay, let's be in a more professional outfit, maybe not a t-shirt. Let's make sure my hair's done. And really, I think it comes from a place of respect.
Right.
I want to show this person respect and that I really care about this meeting and how I show up. If something is going to be recorded or was recorded, I step it up. I step it up a little bit and leaving more of the personal sides of me behind. I also look, if it's something internal still within our organization, I also have tiers there where it's my closest contacts in my inner team, which is what I think your meeting was with your youngest on your lap the other day. Yep. And so that's the safest place. And I feel like that's such a powerful place for us to show up in our most vulnerable and authentic way, especially when you're leading team with younger professionals in it, for those younger professionals to hear and see it modeled on that visibility point.
Yes.
I think that's,
yes.
and there's also that trust built there, hopefully, because you know them the best and they know you the best, and you're kind of welcoming them into this space. But then I have outer circles, right? And I have people who I might talk to once a year at my organization, or we have over 600 people across the country. And then I look at the subject matter we're discussing. If I'm going into something, I'm going to go do a review for somebody. This is their career.
Right.
They deserve my respect and my attention and my polish and put together and focused on what's happening in front of me. If I have to give a negative performance feedback, that's also a very serious conversation. I've literally had to think going into a meeting, maybe it wasn't a day where I did a ton to myself externally, but I was I've got to go, I need to go put up a sweater or a button-up shirt on or a jacket on because this person deserves me to show up fully caring and showing how much I fully care about what's going to happen in this 30-minute meeting. So I think those are some of the guideposts that I've used, and when to allow more of this personal to bleed over into the professional.
Yeah, I think that without articulating those guideposts, that aligns with the same calculus that I go through as well. And I think for me, so much of it's just reading the room, so much of how I engage with people, how I connect with people, is reading the room. But those guideposts are guides to how to read the room, is it
totally.
Is it
what's the context,
positive,
the situation?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the same with even just my swearing or my tattoos. I don't always swear. I don't always drop F-bombs, I go through full days where I don't, believe it or not, Mom.
Stop it. Seriously.
Even a whole week where I'm not dropping the F-bomb. And ditto for I don't always choose. It is a choice when I show my tattoos. You know what I mean? Because I'm aware, I'm mindful of the room that I'm in. But it's a balance with ensuring that who I am, I can do all of those things, and I can move through the world or move through the space or the room that I'm in, and being mindful of those things while also being true to who I am,
right.
and also being true to the way that my core values and the way that I relate to people, and you know what I mean,
and try to make
There's
people
room
feel
for
comfortable, and also
exactly.
share your truth on something. If somebody brings up a bad idea, don't just yes them. Like, it's all those things
Right.
about being true to yourself and how you interact and show up. I think that's the foundation for all of it. And then the different levels to which you can bring in the personal really is contextual. But that foundation on your values guiding your actions, your behavior, your interactions, that can't ever change. I don't mean to turn this into an Ask Ashley advice column, but let's say we have, and I didn't tell you I was going to ask this, but let's say you're a young professional, a younger woman who's starting your career.
Keep in mind that my Spotify age is 21, so I can
perfect
relate
for
to this. This is really easy.
Perfect. Okay. You've both listened to some really hip new music by people that I don't even know exist in the world, and she comes to you and says, okay, I get what you're saying about executive presence, but I still want to be taken seriously, and I still want to look like I know what I'm doing in my profession. Like, what would you talk about? What would you say to give some advice to show up as your most professional, authentic self?
I would say do the work beforehand. Like, because there's only so much of you can fake it till you make it that's real. You know, you can to some extent, but if you want to be taken seriously, or you want to be seen as a professional, or particularly for fellow lawyers, if you're in we exist in an adversarial system. So if you're going into a negotiation, or you're arguing a motion or something like that, there's only so much faking it you can do. You can put on a good suit, but if you have not done the work beforehand to go in with actually knowing what you're talking about, then you're not going to come off that way. And so, I don't know if that's a cop-out answer, but like for me, any time that I have wanted to be taken seriously, or I even hate that phrase. But like to be viewed as a professional who, how do I say this? Who is competent and who can be trusted with difficult topics, or who understands, or who can be viewed as a source of authority. Let's say that. Anytime that I've wanted to be viewed that way, it's not a joke when I say I just Google everything. Like I sent you a meme that was like, even if it was my first rodeo, they would never know it was my first rodeo, because I would have researched everything about rodeos before I even went there.
Through Google. I would have Googled everything I needed.
I would have Googled everything I needed to know about rodeos.
I laughed out loud on that one.
Where it's like, there's so much truth there. Even if it's something that you've never done before, a stage that you've never walked on, a room that you've never been in before, people that you've never met before, who you do have to kind of sell a little bit on your expertise, or your polish, or your strength, or your intelligence, or whatever. Do the work before you get in that room, man, because at least if you know that you know what you're talking about, that will come through. And I think that the other part of that is, not only will that come through, but, oh my God, I'm making everything about Taylor Swift. So in her Eras Tour documentary, she talked about how she just worked really freaking hard in the lead up to the tour to be so polished and to know everything so well. And she ran a mile, over like 5 miles, I think, on her treadmill, like scream singing the set list, so that she would know it so well, and it would be so much a part of her muscle memory that she could be fully present with her fans and in that moment, and like responding in real time, because she wouldn't have to think about like what comes next and do I step there and because she just knew it, and she knew it so well in her body. It was in her muscle memory and in her bones that she could do this. The same is true of anything. If you've done the work beforehand, you can be more free to be your full authentic self, because you will feel comfortable and you won't be thinking about like, okay, well, what comes next? You'll just know it, baby, because you will have Googled it. So just like, maybe Google is our sponsor.
I guess, apparently.
But I think like that's the best piece of advice that I could give, is do the work before you get in the room, so that when you're in the room, you can speak clearly and confidently and also be true to yourself and crack a joke if that's who you are is funny. You know, you'll be able to crack the joke if you know that you've got the meat to do that.
I always wanted to be the most prepared person in the room.
Yeah,
I knew I wasn't going to be the smartest, but I was like, but I will be the most prepared.
But I will be the most prepared. Yep.
And funniest.
Totally.
I'm kidding.
I was just going to say, and if I'm the most prepared, I can also be the funniest. And humor is how you win hearts.
Yes.
So
1000%.
Just saying.
1000%. When I was early in my career, I thought that I needed to wear dark suits, like very conservative traditional clothing, so that people would focus on what I was saying and not be distracted by what I was wearing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that worked or not. I felt that way. And then I started wearing more color, and then I felt more myself, all of those things that you say, and then the confidence followed a little more, and I didn't feel so out of place. But I will say there's still a thing for me on, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this word. This is going to be controversial.
Ooh,
I think this is going to be controversial. Okay.
I'm ready.
I still think modesty in the workplace is a thing. Like, I'm still hyper aware of like how low my shirts are cut and how long.
You're not wearing
a
midriff.
I don't show my midsection ever, ever, even when it was so toned I could have and wanted, you know what I mean? Like, I could have pulled it off. I'm kind of tall, and so I'm hyper aware of my skirt length, like, and I still think that's a thing. And if I was actually to give advice to a young woman, I would still give her that advice.
Yeah.
I think that's controversial, though.
It is.
I don't think everyone would agree with me anymore.
Yeah, and I don't know that I fully agree. I mean, I think like I'm mindful of the same things. I can't say that I disagree when I'm mindful of the same things. But here, the reason that it's controversial to me is like the age-old reason for why one should. First of all, do we ever say that to men?
No.
That men should be modest?
But when do men ever want to show their bodies?
I mean, true. I mean, and it would be weird if, like, we would say something if someone showed up, like if a dude showed up to a meeting with like, with the shirt totally open and their chest hair showing.
Okay,
we'd have some comments there.
You know the Will Ferrell, like,
yes.
Okay, the skit from SNL where he's like wearing the man thong and it's like America flag on it or whatever. Oh my gosh. Like that.
We would still have comments.
We would say something to him in that scenario. Yeah. But like, you don't even see men show up in tank tops. Like, that's not a thing men do.
Yeah, it's, wow, man, this is like a full, this
is a full episode. I'm sorry, I've gone down it, but like, that's my belief. I mean, and I know it's super traditional and conservative and all those things, but it's like, that's really what I believe.
I mean, and it's like part of the reason that I initially bristled at it is that like, our bodies are not here as ornaments
completely
or decoration. They are here as tools. Okay. Yes. And women's bodies have historically been treated as ornaments or decorations. And that is not what guys, can I just say that again? Like, you do not have a body to be a decoration. You have a body to exist in the world. Your body is a tool. Okay. That's what it is. And so the reason that I initially bristled at that was, the age-old reason that women should be modest in the workplace is so that we're not a distraction. And it's like, well, again, it's a body, that's a tool, not a distraction, not an ornament, not a decoration. Yep. Okay. So that's the reason that I initially bristled at it. But then when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, but I would be distracted if a man showed up with like his chest hair emerging from his low cut shirt. Right? Okay. Like I would be distracted by that too. And it's not because I'm like, chest hair. You know what I mean? I would be like, whoa, okay. I don't need to, I can't look away now. Like it's a car accident. I can't look away from it.
But I know with like women's empowerment, and I'm not trying to slut shame, like I do feel like attitudes around this are changing, that midriffs are back now from the early 2000s. That's a thing. Sorry,
it's a good rabbit hole.
Messy besties. That's
we'll
how
come
I
back
really
to this
feel.
one.
That's how I really
don't be
feel.
sorry. Don't be sorry.
But
for
it
that.
goes to executive presence. That's how I got to it. Is like when I want to be my most professional self, I might wear color, but I'm still very covered up.
And just the other point that I want to make about this with regard to, what we choose to wear, because I had the same experience of like, I should wear dark and be buttoned up and all of this, I had a judge one time tell me in court that women in his courtrooms don't wear pantsuits. I was like, well, that's funny, Your Honor, because I'm a woman in your courtroom and I'm wearing a pantsuit. So I think there's a flaw there because I'm doing it right now. It's happening.
Yeah.
But part of that is like, things are never going to change if things never change. Mm-hmm. If we just keep putting ourselves in stupid boxes that we never made, that were never designed with us in mind, then we're never going to get out of the stupid box that was never created for us. So we have to at some point, within reason, with alignment with our core values. I think my statement is I do think that we need to bring the whole of who we are to work, because the whole of who we are deserves to show up. She deserves that. And also, we're never going to change things if we don't. And I do think that things need to be changed. So.
Is there anything you don't bring to work? Is there anything that you keep sacred?
Oh yeah.
Like what?
Yeah.
What do you not give away?
You're really good at articulating like guideposts, and we've talked about this, like I like a vibe, you like a mantra, like you're really good at putting words to the things. So I'm trying to like put some words to my vibe of what I keep back. There are some things that much like on our podcast, I mean, we share a lot on this podcast. We love you, messy besties. We share a lot. But there are some things that are sacred that are just for me, that are just, like, I don't know. I share a lot, but there are pieces of myself that really, truly only my husband has access to.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know. Like, I don't know how else to, now everyone's like, what secrets is she keeping? Like, no. I'm not, I don't have like a secret life. Yeah. I don't know. It's just, there are some things and like, maybe it's like, I'm vocal about some insecurities, but maybe my biggest insecurities that still really hurt to talk about, I don't with anyone other than him. Yeah. And occasionally you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know. What about you? I know you have the same. We both have boundaries. So where are yours?
Yeah, we both have boundaries. I'm trying to go through categories.
Right, it's hard.
My health might be one of them, but actually it's not. I write on my calendar, I'm going to the high risk breast clinic. Like, anyone who sees my calendar needs to go get their mammogram too. I'm not. Right. I don't know.
Right.
That's on my calendar.
I saw that on your calendar and I was like, I was going to text you. If you didn't bring it up, I was going to text you and be like, girlfriend, what's going on?
I'm good. I'm good. But like, yeah. I'm writing, like, go get your screens, people. I'm trying to think about what I don't, it's,
some
parenting things, not suitable for work things. Like, that's still a thing. HR things we can't talk about in the workplace ever. So I had a big revelation about my life and turning points in my life as we were preparing to do this episode, because there was, we haven't talked about this on the podcast before, but there was a substantial period of my life, I want to say 4 years, maybe 5, where I was in an abusive relationship, an emotionally abusive relationship. And I never talked about my relationship at work for a really, really long time because I couldn't. Like, what am I going to say? Am I going to tell the truth about the fights we had this last weekend? You know what I mean? Or like how awful it turned. Like, I can't tell anyone that. And I realized, I think and you were one of the people who I did actually open up to and talk to about it because we were friends. It wasn't really me being visible in the workplace. It was me opening up to a colleague as a friend. Right. And you were super honest with me. You were like, okay, that's abusive. And like, you were the first person to say that to me. at the time. And this was like well over a decade ago. But I don't know, just looking at, there is something on being special and sacred and meant for those closest to you. And then there's also something of like, well, actually, why aren't you talking about this in the workplace? And is this somewhere where you might need some help or something might be off?
Is it shame or fear, or is it stemming from like a boundary of what's
Sacred.
sacred?
That's very well said right there. So, So yeah, and that was something I didn't talk about for a very long time, and there was a reason, and thank God I changed it, and now I talk about my relationship all the time at work.
Yeah.
So
yeah. There's also something to be said for the courage that you had in saying something. Like, I think that I remember that moment, and I think that in that moment, like I think you knew that it was wrong. You knew that it was unfair. You knew that it was hurting you. But I think that so it was courageous for you to say that, to speak that truth of like what was actually going on there. But I think that you needed a mirror back in that moment.
Oh, completely. Someone else needed to say it to me.
Right.
And nobody had said it to me that clearly. And you didn't even know him. You know what I mean? For you to just hear. Anyway, so thank you. You saved my life.
Oh, girlfriend.
In such a good way. But yeah, so now I'm just fumbling because I'm so nervous about what I just said. But
I know, and we're like, I want to like give you a hug. But just like to kind of bring it back, that you read that room though, you know what I mean? Like you knew that was a safe space for you to do that in. And, and so there's also that added benefit that you receive when you do take a bold step to share some part of yourself, you know, that you've held back. If you've held it back for a reason that's based in fear or shame or something else, you might find community, and you might find a way to
and resources
navigate those.
To help.
Yeah,
totally.
Yep.
The power I found the backup and the support to leave that situation. So yay.
Yep, it's true. So, and for anyone who's listening, if you are, you know, having a difficult situation like that, there are resources out there, and we are happy to be a source to point you in the right direction if you are experiencing any kind of a difficult romantic or partnership situation, intimate violence situation, or abusive relationship, or just something that you're like, hey, Ashley, you have tattoos. I have tattoos too. How do we bring them to work? Like whatever it is, we're here for it, and we're grateful. We're grateful to you all too. So
yeah, love it. All right, can you bring some of your normal mess to the podcast today? To take us home and share a little glimmer and something that's caused you some joy.
Yes.
One of each.
So a little spice is spicy. That's the normal mess. So I really struggle with being late. I hate being late. Like it causes me so much anxiety and internal strife, and like the anxiety is like a wave that overcomes me, and it turns into frustration, and it bubbles. Like I have a fundamental, I cannot be late. I do not being late. Do not like being late. Lil Spice does not have that same relationship with lateness.
She's also 5 and like
she's also
doesn't
5.
Really tell time, but that's fine.
It's true. She's
just learning the clock and time.
That's true.
But
She's
keep
learning
going. Keep going.
And so the normal mess is, as I've shared, that I take them to school every morning, and I love this time that I get with them. I also really struggle with this time that I get with them. Two things can be true. I could love it, and it can be a source of anxiety and stress for me. And so every morning lately, but particularly this morning, we lay out our clothes the day before. Like I get up super early so that I shower and I do my hair and I'm fully ready. Like when I take the kids to school, I am fully.
The key. That's the only way. I just have to validate everything you've said, because on the days where Mike has to go into his office, I'm 100% responsible. So that's 2 or 3 days a week. Not that bad, but precious time, hardest time of the week.
Yep.
I have to be fully ready before 7 a.m. for when they get up. So by the time we leave by 8, all the things. We have a routine.
Yes.
I am tracking you right now. You are not alone.
Yes. The kids need to be up by 6:45 at the latest. 6:30 is really what it should be. Okay? If they do not have their sweet little butts in the seats at the breakfast table at 7 a.m., we are going to be late. There's no world in which we get there on time if they are not eating breakfast at 7 a.m. So like when I say I hate being late, it's not just like late getting out the door. I know at what time everything needs to happen in the lead up.
You can tell from
So I feel it.
6:55.
I know I'm going into depth here, but this is literally the calculus of like, okay, if they are not upstairs, like actively getting ready, brushing teeth, getting dressed, letting me do their hair by 7:30, at the absolute latest, we are going to be late.
Yep.
And so then we come back down the stairs, usually at about 7:42, and we have to get on shoes, and I am getting their coats, and then we're going out to the car, and we should be exiting the driveway at 7:45.
Wow.
That's my morning. It is down to a minute. If we leave later than 7:45, we get caught in 3 separate school zones. Okay? So if we're exiting the driveway at 7:47, 3 separate school zones, and we are now a minimum of 3 to 5 minutes late for school. Okay?
Okay. If you love us and you're still with us and you're like,
Right.
then just leave 10 minutes earlier. No, that can't happen. You don't understand. There is no just moving up the timeline. That does not happen.
It does not happen. All right. So my normal mess is my mornings. We'll just mic drop it there. That's the normal mess is my mornings. So my glimmer is my girlfriends. So I know my girlfriends have been such a blessing to me. I had a tough day that I shared with you that I was just like struggling and feeling like I wasn't showing up as a good mom, like not even showing up as a good mom, failing, like I'm not a good mom, I'm failing. And you sent me the most beautiful bouquet of flowers, and they're still on my kitchen table.
They're still alive?
They're still alive. Most of them. I keep picking out the ones that are. Then it's just beautiful. And then I shared with another girlfriend, my friend Nicole, some other just childcare upheaval things happening. And so she delivered bundt cakes to my house. Just had like
that's
two,
your village.
Look
at you.
That's my village. The nothing but cakes.
That was so
she
good.
delivered. Nicole, thank you. You are just such a blessing to me and so sweet. And girlfriends show up for each other in this way, and these like little ways that are actually not little. That's huge. You know what I mean? Like just to like have a little delivery that just is telling me like I have people. I have a village. I have people who know me and see me and don't judge me. It's just huge.
In this alone.
Yeah. So what about you? Give me your normal mess. Give me your glimmer.
Normal mess. It's gardening season at my house, which is my favorite time of year, where I plant and reorganize and do pots and my dahlias that I love and my roses. And I found this new fertilizer, super organic, wonderful, like all natural stuff to put on the roses to really make them grow. It must have something disgusting in there because the dog named Mulligan has been all about it. Like, what is that? Blah, blah, blah. Sprinkle it on the base of the roses. Catch her licking it like an hour later.
No. Oh, no. At least it's organic, but that means that it's poop.
Then we had the carpets shampooed because it's been a long time. We have 2 toddlers. Like, it needs to be done. So we had them shampooed, and they look gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
That was yesterday. To the point where they were still moist as we were falling asleep, and I couldn't even put furniture back in living rooms and stuff, right?
Hate that word, but yes, understood.
Thank you. Damp. They were damp.
Damp. Is that better? I don't know.
I was awakened at 4:30 in the morning to the dog gagging and then vomiting right on the brand new cleaned carpet.
Oh, God. In your room or where?
In my room.
No.
Then, and it's
Molly,
like 4:30,
what are you doing?
so I clean it, and then I realize it's the fertilizer that's making her sick. And I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I couldn't fall back asleep, obviously. So I get up, sun's not fully up, put on my sweatpants. I go outside, And I'm like, I'm going to water the heck out of these roses, and it's going to put whatever I put on them, like, into the soil. She won't be able to lick anymore, and we will be past this. The hose.
I just have a visual of you out there.
Yes.
Okay.
Like, just imagine the worst light baby blue, large sweatpants. Anyway, I'm walking around my house outside. Children are sleeping. Sun's not fully up. The hose is stuck because it's the beginning of the season, and the hose hasn't been pulled out all winter, and the hose is stuck inside the hose thing. I wish I would have been caught on candid camera, like a secret hidden camera somewhere, watching me pull this hose out of the hose reel to water. I was sweating. I was cursing. It was a battle. So then I did that. I got it all watered. I do have the vomit cleaned up off the floor, and that's the normal mess. But I do have a few blooms. The glimmer is I got several blooms. After that, I was like, I'm at least going to turn this around. And so I went and snipped some roses and made a little tiny bouquet. And it's that time of year again, and I'm so excited to see all the flowers come up. It just brings me so much joy.
My son, I just want to share this because it's adorable. My son calls them Schweddies.
Oh, I want to call them Schweddies.
Isn't that the cutest thing?
Where I put my Schweddies on.
Right, where he says it too about like his he calls the pants Schweddies, and the sweater he just says, I want to wear a Schweddy. Well,
the glimmer made up for it. Two things can be true. Glimmer made up for it, and
fertilizer is gross. Dogs are gross, but you do get beautiful flowers.
So bad.
Yeah, that's awful.
Besties, thank you for being here this week, for going along this long, bumpy ride with us. We appreciate
it's been a journey.
You so much.
Bring the whole of who you are. We're here for it.
All week, and we'll see you next week.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
If you or someone you love is experiencing intimate partner violence, physical and or emotional, there are resources to help. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24/7 at 1-800-799-SAFE.
The Normal Mess podcast is created, edited, and produced by us.
To keep up with The Normal Mess, subscribe on your favorite podcast platform.
To help us grow the Normal Mess community, leave us a rating and a review. If you'd like a piece of this normal mess, just reach out.
Our email is thenormalmess@gmail.com, and you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at thenormalmess. Do I have anything in my teeth? No.
That's going to be a good clip for social right there.
Just both of us.
Yeah.